Hi folks, and welcome back to Pattaya. We're going to go look at some bikes today. There's a whole new genre of bike in town that I think is well suited for both around town and day trips and things. We're going to go look at some. Just about every manufacturer is making one now. It might surprise you. Kind of did me. But starting off here at home before I leave out, a buddy just picked up this brand new electric three-wheeler. It's 2 seats. It's a big guy. They've got the battery hopped up. It's basically intended for somebody who can't get on a regular bike. So if you have a handicap or a disability effect where you have limited mobility in your knees or legs, this kind of thing might be for you. And they picked it up right here in Pattaya. They wanted a big one, and that's what they got. So I've seen smaller ones like this, but this one is quite girthy for 2 big guys on this thing riding around Pattaya. All electric, and it's got 3 speeds. It's got forward, it's got reverse, so it's pretty substantial. How much was it? So 35,000 baht, so it's an even $1,000 US dollars, an even $1,000 US dollars for one of these get-arounds here. So I'll show you what it looks like up close, and we'll go out and we'll look at some bikes.
So as these guys make their way around Pattaya in their newfound electric chariot here, I'm excited to go out and look at this new class of bikes. It's a class that's affordable. It's a class that's, I think, is perfect for an everyday bike around town, here in Pattaya or elsewhere. And here's the thing, they're all in the range of 400cc.
So the first stop today, the one I'm most interested in, right behind me here, a new offering from Triumph, the Triumph Speed 400. I saw these at Bike Week last week, so I had to come take a look. Now there's 2 versions. There's the Speed like that, and then this other one called the 400X, or the Scrambler 400X. But they're very similar. The Speed starts at 155, 157, I believe, and the Scrambler about 177, 179, depending on the color. You'll see that's a theme of these. They upcharge you a little bit depending on the color. But these, I really think, are the class leaders. That's why I wanted to look at these first. They're right at, for a 400 single cylinder, right at about 40 horsepower, which they claim is the the segment leading, which they must have forgot about Husqvarna, which is closer to 45. But anyway, close enough. Many of the others are much less power than these. Proper 6-speed gearboxes, good amount of suspension travel, good amount of ground clearance. You do have a bigger tire on the Scrambler. You have a 19-inch up front, and a little bit chunkier of tread for that Scrambler-esque type duty. The seats look decent. They both have a kind of an analog and LCD gauge cluster. Very nice front forks. So monoshock rear. So this, I think at this price point, is basically personifies the everyday type ride around. It's small enough to ride around town every day of the week, but big enough for day trips if you want to go an hour or so away, no problem. So with 400 cc's and the girth of the bike, definitely roadworthy. I don't know that I'd go all over the place with it, but for day trips here and there, no problem, and around town. So that's a good overall bike, and I think that's the theme of the entire segment here with the 400cc. It's kind of an everyday use bike around town, a little bit outside, day trips, etc. So I took a ride on the Speed. Now here's the deal. There's already a waiting list for these. It's a new model. That happens a lot. There's a 3 to 4 month waiting list for both of these, but they have demos here. They've got a lot of demos. They've got a good amount of demos, and you can get one of those with 600 kilometers on it. Buy it today and save like 10,000 off the sticker price. So that might be a deal for somebody. If I was getting one, I would just go with the demo. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. At that price point, you're saving 10,000 baht, and it's very light use. They guarantee full guarantee, full warranty, and all of that. So Triumph here really stepping up. Now, there's another player in the game, a very unlikely player. Both Triumph and this other brand, a little bit late to the party here with some of the other ones that we'll look at, but I think in almost an act of desperation to compete in this fast-growing segment. I look for this segment to be very popular from now going forward. It's what's available. It's that CC range. It's that versatility that I think people are going to want, and the price point. Not a bad deal. I think for an all-around overall bike here, definitely one to look at. So I'm at Harley Davidson here, AAS Harley Davidson here in Jomtien. You might be asking, well, that's kind of an odd place to be looking at 400cc motorcycles, but it's not, because just a short distance from here in India is the X440 Harley Davidson. Now, I just came here to ask, one, did they have it? I didn't expect for them to have it because I would have heard. But two, is it expected to be sold here in Thailand? They're apparently produced in India. Would that be something that they may export to neighboring countries such as Thailand? And I got a resounding no. The lady told me no. She said that's just for the Indian domestic market. I think it was a smart move. Even in India, there's even more of these 400cc scrambler type models. And Harley has thrown their hat into the ring, and they make a pretty decent looking one. I'll show you. And from everything that I've seen online, the people give them rave reviews. Although, in typical Harley fashion, they seem to me on paper to be a little heavy and a little underpowered. But that Harley nameplate at under $5,000, $4,500, something like that. It's the rupees conversion, I'm not sure what it is, but it seemed like it was about 4,400 US dollars. That's unheard of. You couldn't buy an old rag used Harley for that. But a brand new X440. But you never know what will happen. Things could change. That could make an appearance here. I think if it did, I think it would do well in the Thai market, but who am I? So at Royal Enfield, they've got what's called the Scram 411. I guess the same motor out of the old Himalaya 411, but this one in more of a scrambler format. And it's quite nice. It's probably got the biggest seat in the class. I like the spokes. The spokes are a nice touch. But it's kind of chunky, it's kind of big. I think it's also maybe the biggest bike in the class. It kind of feels like an overweight army bike. It's got some extra bits and bobs here and there, and it's big and it's high. But with only about 25 horsepower, the 411 might not be up to being as athletic as some of the other offerings in the class. But price-wise, it's about the same, and I think at about $175, depending here again on what color you get. You go up to $177,000, $179,000. But right around $175,000. So I don't know, maybe a little bit bigger than some of the other ones here. I don't know for an everyday thing around town like the Triumph or some of the other small ones, but definitely in the class, a scrambler, 400 cc's, and at the same price point, the exact same price point as Triumph. So the next stop, we're here at Honda Big Wing and Honda Small Wing, Honda Little Wing. Honda has not one but two entries into this class, but they must have not gotten the memo about 400cc. One is a 300 and one is a 500, and they're what's called the CL. They're both kind of in that scrambler motif though, with chunky tires, a very similar seat that all of them have, about the same rake, about the same ground clearance, suspension travel. They're very comparable. The 300 would actually compete in the 400 segment with its power. I think, like the Royal Enfield, a little bit light on the power. The 500 though would be top in the class, which would be expected as a 500 with about 45 horsepower. But there again, that's twin cylinder, where all the rest of these, most of them, are single cylinder. But still, it's right in that wheelhouse. If I had my choice, the 500 I think would be a great example in this class and probably lead the class. However, the price does too at $225,000, $226,000, depending on the color, things that you choose, but in that neighborhood, as opposed to $150,000 for the 300, which would be maybe one of the cheapest in class and still compete with some of the lowered powered models like the Royal Enfield, even though it's a 300. It's the same motor out of the Rebel, but this is a new package. It's a new chassis. It's an all-purpose bike. Every day, beat around town, very narrow, relatively lightweight. Now the 500 does get a little chunky coming in at 190 kilos. So in addition to being the most powerful, it would also be the heaviest in class. But there again, to be expected, because we're really looking at 400s today. But that's what Honda has. They do bring to the table two choices, either extra large or small. They don't have the medium size, the 400 like everybody else has. But I think still two pretty good offerings to bring to the table and worth a look if you're shopping in this segment. Anyway, we've got more to look at. So over at Yamaha, it's kind of the same story, although different, very different. In fact, they have one of the first 400s that was available in this market, maybe back as far as 2017. maybe in 2016, I'm not sure, at least by 2018. The SR400. However, I don't really think it belongs in this class. For one, it's more of a standard bike, not a scrambler. But for two, the price, $295,000. 295,000 baht. And here's the thing, it doesn't even have electric start. You got to start it with your foot. It's got the old foot start. A very nice bike. It's a nostalgic bike. It's for those who want a throwback. It's a total throwback. It's very well done. High degree of fit and finish, hence the price. Performance-wise, with the paltry 27 horsepower and no electric start, it's like you're paying extra not to have the new cool stuff. So, not for me, and that's why I don't think it belongs in this category. It's basically kind of a creature all on its own, but I figured I'd stop by here anyway. Yamaha does have a 400, and that's it, but nothing that really competes in this class. Let's go down the road.
So over at Husqvarna, well, they were closed this day, and I'm not sure they would have this bike in stock anyway. It might be something you have to order, or maybe the store in Bangkok would have it, but it's called the 401. There it is, Husqvarna. I sat on one of these, saw one of these for the first time at Bike Week 2022 in Phuket, and I thought the seat was a little high and the handlebars a little low for my personal liking, but this is definitely the most athletic in its class at almost 45 horsepower and about 150 kilos. I guess this is the line to get into Pattaya off the motorway here. Anyway, we'll go down to Kawasaki. Now, Kawasaki was the second entry into the 400 market here with the Z400. There's also a Ninja 400, but I think the Z400 would more closely align with this class. But here again, since it was one of the first, I don't know that it really belongs in this exact class. Maybe Kawasaki will step up and make something more comparable, but this would be more like an upright standard or even a naked sport bike, I guess is what you could call it. But there it is, and it is 400cc, twin cylinder, and a fine choice. I think it would get down the road pretty good. But I think concentrating on this class, these would be my top picks. So you got the Triumph, you've got the Royal Enfield, the 411 Scram. You've got both the CL 300 and 500, neither of which is 400, but it's close. They're in the range. And then, of course, the Husky. So I'll put the prices on the screen here for you, and you can kind of see and maybe decide for yourself. But if I had to pick one of these, if I was going to buy one of these, I think I've made my choice. I would go with the Triumph Speed. I really like this guy. I did ride it briefly. It seemed very tight, very planted. It was comfortable. I didn't see anything wrong with the position of the pegs, the handlebars, etc. It was okay. And I think the seat's low enough for around town, all the tight maneuvering. A very good choice. A very good choice. So hats off to Triumph here. I think they have a winner, especially in this Thai market. I think it'll do well. But anyway, if you're in town, stop by Triumph, stop by Royal Enfield, or even Honda. At least those three will have demonstrators. You can take a little test ride, whether that be in the parking lot or they go out. There's also events. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode. Something else next time right here from Pattaya. But for this one, got to go ahead and leave it off right here. And as usual, I'll thank you for watching. And until next time, bye for now.